Let's face it, you're pretty tired. And even though you try to get your sleep and you're really not doing anything crazy, you still find yourself stuck in just being so tired all the time. Believe me, I've been there, but I decided I was done with it, and for the past few years, I've obsessed over how to defeat this feeling. Now, I ditched the hacks that just seemed a bit off, like decalcifying my pineal glands, why even, and focused on what biologically makes sense. And you know what? It actually worked! Now I'm full of energy all day, every day, to the point that I've become super annoying to the people around me. And I want that for you as well. Anyway, I want to walk you through the simple changes I started doing that have completely changed my life and have given me way more energy. Oh, and I will also share the one technique I use when everything else fails. Okay, first of all, we have to get one obvious thing out of the way. Truth is, a lot of people don't know how much sleep their brain and body actually needs. And it's a real problem because almost half of all people are not getting enough sleep at night. And yes, there are some people that need less sleep overall, but that's a very small minority. Chances are you and I are not them, especially since you clicked on this video. So how many hours should we be aiming for? For the majority of us, the most optimal is about 7 to 8 hours consistently. So if you're struggling with feeling tired, start by having a look at the number of hours that you're getting. Are you hitting those numbers? Do whatever you can to regularly get as close as possible to 8 hours of good sleep. Okay, this all sounds logical, but what if we're getting our sleep and we still feel tired? We all have a general idea of what eating healthy is. Less fast food, less processed stuff, and more healthy ingredients. And I can definitely feel the difference in my energy levels when I've been eating poorly. But here's the thing. Even when I started eating healthy and nothing excessively sweet or sugary, I would still have these terrible dips throughout the day, especially right after I've eaten something. I actually thought they were normal because everyone seems to have them. But those crashes right after lunch, they were the worst for me. They would destroy my entire afternoon. I'd just be sitting there, staring at my screen and waiting for my brain to load for the rest of the day. Now, I figured out it actually doesn't have to be this way, but I had to go all the way back to the basics to discover this. See, the basics say that when we eat food that has a lot of carbs, the sugar levels in our blood will go up. And since our body doesn't like these high blood sugar levels, it releases insulin to bring it down again. Now, the more carbs and sugar our food has, the higher the spike will be and the bigger the following crash. If the crash is really big, it's called reactive hypoglycemia. That's when our sugar levels drop below normal. It's also this kind of crash that makes us feel so tired and sluggish and also just annoyed and anxious. It's simply because all of a sudden our brain lacks the necessary fuel. So definitely not a good state to be in. Okay, so this all makes sense, but going back to my post-lunch crash, like I said, I was eating healthy, something like a whole wheat sandwich with tomato and avocado and nothing sugary added. This should not cause a crash. So why are people getting so tired after eating a healthy lunch? What is going wrong? Well, I decided to dig a little bit deeper and then I found these tables showing the glycemic index, which basically tells me how fast my meals are releasing its sugars. A score of 0 means that there's no sugar at all, and 100 is pretty much pure sugar cubes. And my lunch? Well, it scored way too high. That whole wheat bread I was using was highly processed, giving me way too many fast sugars and consequently just making me tired. Okay, so I found the problem, but what was the solution? Start baking my own artisanal bread instead of the processed stuff? I don't have time for that. Actually, I did something different and decided to completely remove all the major carbs from my lunch, like bread or pasta. And you know what? It worked wonders. It was like night and day. Now I have these massive lunches built around vegetables, some sort of protein, and a lot of healthy fats. Afterwards, I feel zero sluggishness. I keep my focus and I even stay awake during hour-long Zoom meetings. I had just solved a major silent problem that had been killing my productivity for years. Now, I hear you thinking, cutting out all sugars? Doesn't our brain and body run on glucose? Don't we need some sugar? Yes, that's definitely true. But here's the thing. Even though we don't realize it, almost everything we eat has some sort of sugar. So it's not that we are depriving ourselves by leaving out major carbs. And also, don't get me wrong here, I'm not saying that we can have carbs or that we shouldn't have these fluctuations in blood sugar levels. These changes are completely normal, and when they're flat, well, basically it means that we're dead. We just don't want to have these massive spikes and crashes 15 times a day, which is what makes us so tired. The problem though is that so much of our food is heavily processed and loaded with extra sugars. As a result, on average, we get about 60% too much sugar in every single day. Oh, and remember the glycemic index, that the higher it is, the more sugar is released? Well, here are some crazy examples that just show how big the difference can be. So, some mildly processed foods like instant oats, white rice, and white bread, they're all way in the red. My whole wheat sandwich also way too high. And then less processed foods like whole grain bread and rolled oats, they're actually well in the green, just like natural ingredients such as fruits and vegetables. So ask yourself, how good or bad are your meals scoring? I've put a link to one of these tables in the description so you can have a look for yourself. Okay, so once I started eating lower in carbs, I already felt much more energetic. But occasionally, just like everyone, I don't have a good night's sleep. And from the moment I wake up, I know that day will be a tough one. I have this fogginess in my head, this weird pain behind my eyes, and everything's just a struggle. But then there's that one friend. We all love her and she's always there to help us. Coffee is so magical, it's now even recommended as part of a healthy diet by the American Office of Disease Prevention. And then a couple of years ago, there was this large meta-study, which is a study that analyzes a lot of other studies, that found that people who drink coffee regularly are more protected to die from basically anything than people who don't drink coffee. So clearly coffee is amazing. And on top of that, of course, it gives us more energy. But I noticed there's a weird part. If I have a lot of coffee on those difficult mornings, I would crash extra hard later in that day. So all that coffee would actually be ruining my energy levels. Okay, that's not what we want, but I figured out a way to stop these afternoon crashes. See, the caffeine in coffee makes us feel awake by blocking adenosine, which is a natural chemical in our brain that normally signals sleep. The more caffeine we have, the more adenosine is being blocked and the less sleepy we feel. Now, adenosine naturally reaches its highest levels towards the late evening, and then during the night, our brain clears it out to get ready for the next day. However, there's a catch, because not all of that adenosine is cleared by the following morning. And that brings us to the real problem. See, that first cup of coffee will block adenosine, but it actually doesn't remove it out of our system. So once the caffeine wears off, all that sleepy adenosine comes rushing back, making us crash again. And the messed up part? It's even worse if we had a bad night's sleep, because there's still a lot of adenosine left. It will be blocked by that morning coffee, but then that afternoon crash will hit us extra hard. Luckily, there's a simple trick here, and that's because our brain keeps on clearing any remaining adenosine for about 90 minutes after we wake up. So now I simply wait this out and I have my first coffee a little bit later in the morning. It works wonders, and I do notice that afternoon crash is no longer there. Okay, having said that, there's actually another issue with caffeine, and that's about a common misconception on how it works. Like, you've probably heard it stays in our body between 5 to 7 hours, right? So if we have a coffee at around 5 in the afternoon, which is kinda late, but we should still be able to fall asleep later that evening. Unfortunately, that's where we run into problems. See, those 5 to 7 hours are actually the half-life of caffeine, which means it takes that long for our body to remove just 50% of it. So with that coffee at 5 p.m., by 10 in the evening, we still have half a cup of caffeine in our system. And by the middle of the night, when we should be getting our best sleep, only then we start to dip below 25%. And all that caffeine seriously impacts our sleep quality and makes us more tired for the next day. Once I realized this, I now have my coffee no later than 2 p.m. I definitely sleep a lot better, and I notice I need less coffee overall. So basically, don't have your coffee too early to get rid of that sleepy adenosine, or too late to protect your sleep quality. Okay, we've gotten pretty far already, but I noticed that even when I've been eating and sleeping well, and I'm properly caffeinated, it could still be that I'm working just fine, and then still, all of a sudden, damn it, I hit a slump. In a situation like that, I just want to have an immediate solution, Usually, I'd be tempted to take a nap, check my phone, or do something else that's really super unproductive. And while it seems logical that this might save some of our precious energy, most of the times it just makes me feel more tired. Like the number of times that I felt tired and I decided to take a nap, and then I woke up and I felt even more tired. But the times that I instead did something active, like going for a jog, do some cleaning, or participate in a dance show-off, okay, that last one never happened. But I felt really, really good. The amount of energy I get from doing something active is actually insane. It's really mind-blowing. But why is that, and how can we trigger this effect as fast as possible whenever we need it? Okay, so let's first analyze this. When we hit a slump like that, it can be that we're physically tired. We've been sitting on our ass the whole day, working, checking our phone, and watching YouTube videos like this. You're doing great, by the way. So it can be that our muscles have been working very hard. Okay, so if we're not physically tired, why do we still feel like it though? What is going on? Well, think about the situation that we put ourselves in. We're inside and all warm and cozy, we have plenty to eat, and there's no giant bear or eagle chasing us. So our primate brain gets this information and decides that we're doing pretty good. It's safer to stay inside and be chill. Be very, very chill. But here I am trying to do something productive, and instead I'm just trying to stay awake. But then, by doing the one thing we really don't feel like doing, being active, we can actually change the state of mind that we're trapped in. And it works because by moving, we increase the circulation throughout our body, including to our brain, that now all of a sudden gets that crucial oxygen that boosts activity. And it also works because moving directly stimulates our brain to release feel-good chemicals like serotonin and dopamine. And I'm not talking about a runner's high here, where we have to exhaust ourselves for hours to feel anything. These chemicals are already released after just a good short walk. So my solution nowadays for when I hit a slump, I go outside for a 10 to 20 minute walk with like a good pace to increase my heart rate and get those chemicals up. When I do this, I literally feel my energy increase as I go, and I come back feeling so good. But again, I hear you thinking, listen mister, I have a very busy schedule. I don't have time for 20-minute walks every time I hit a slump. Well, you know what? That's fine too, because there was this recent study that showed that even 5 minutes of moving regularly and in a way that increases our heart rate already goes hand in hand with more focus and better memory. So there's really no excuse. Go for a short but solid walk or squeeze in some jumping jacks. Whatever gets your heart rate up. So try some stuff out and see what you like. Now, there's another powerful hack here, and this one will really come as a surprise. What if I tell you that being buff helps you to be more focused? Yeah, I know I sound like a cheesy fitness influencer, but hear me out, it's science. So remember those sugar crashes we talked about earlier? Well, the way that muscles come into play here is that they are a main storage site for sugars, more specifically for glucose. And since muscles love glucose so much, they actively help regulate our blood sugar levels and help to reduce both the intensity of the spikes and the crashes, even if we eat something sweet. That also explains why moving frequently and getting fit really feels like we're getting more energy. It's all because of having more active muscles that prevent those sugar crashes from happening in the first place. So if you ever needed a reason to go to the gym, just imagine your future self that is super fit and hyper-focused. Okay, I also promised you a final bonus tip for when everything else fails, and here we go. Now, I want to start with the question, how much brighter do you think it is outside than inside? Well, if you're anything like me, you'd say about 2 to 5 times brighter, right? But it's actually over 20 to 100 times more intense. Even on a cloudy, gloomy day, it's still over 10 times brighter outside than it is inside. That's crazy, right? We don't notice it because our eyes adapt to the environment all the time. Now, I bring this up because this bright light is exactly the reason that I mentioned earlier that I go for a walk outside. See, all this light really pushes our body to release more of those chemicals that make us feel good and motivated, and help us stay awake during the day and sleepy at night. The other way around, just imagine how our entire energy levels are affected when we're basically in the half dark all day long. So next time that you're struggling and you hit a slump, just go outside, get your heart rate up, and let that light hit you. I promise you, you will feel amazing. And hey, if you found this video useful, please leave me a like and subscribe. It would mean the world to me. And if after watching all of this, you feel like you want to get more fit, have a look at this video here, how I go over how to start going to the gym.